few days ago, I received a Facebook message from an old friend who had a story that she wanted to tell me and another mutual friend of ours that she also included in this conversation, that she then wanted us to pass on, to share with our friends, with our audiences, whatever. So I'm going to do that. At my friend's request, I am going to leave her anonymous. I'm not going to tell you who she is or even where she is. I will just tell you that she is a teacher at a public middle school in a major city here in the United States. She was preparing for her school day and in the front office making some copies. It was before the final morning bell, so most of the students were still in the hallways, were still milling about. They hadn't yet gone to their first classes, and the teachers were made aware of what's called a yellow alert, which in this case meant that there was a possibility that there was a gun in the school. And at hearing the yellow alert, the teachers sprang into action. They did what they had been trained to do, which was to clear the hallways, to get the students that were in the hallways into classrooms or into storage rooms, or in some cases even into closets, just get them somewhere out of sight, safe, behind locked doors, just in case there was a gunman on the premises. And my friend said that she and the other teachers reacted admirably. They did exactly what they'd been told to do. They cleared the hallways very quickly. They called the police, and about 15 minutes later, which my friend said was sort of a disappointingly lengthy period of time, that it took the police 15 minutes to respond to a 911 call of a possible gun at a school. But nonetheless, they eventually showed up, and they were loaded for bear. They had riot gear, they had assault weapons, they were ready to go for any possible threat. Well, it turned out that the gun that had been seen, that had started all of this turmoil, was a BB gun. So everyone was fine. There turned out to not really be that serious of a threat. It was just a student who had brought in a BB gun, and everything was all right. But in those minutes from the time that they received the yellow alert to when they were satisfied that there was no real threat, that it was just a BB gun, my friend said that she was absolutely terrified. And the reason that she shared this story with me, and the reason that I think it's important that I share it with all of you, is the fact that this sort of thing is becoming normal in the United States. This sort of thing is becoming just routine. Teachers having to clear hallways of students at the rumor that there's a gun in the school, because those sorts of things happen often enough that it is a realistic, serious concern that they have to be prepared for. This time it was just a BB gun. This time everything was okay. It was essentially a false alarm. But next time it might not be. And these sorts of things happen often enough where there are students or non-students who come into the school with firearms, much more dangerous than a BB gun, that this is a realistic concern. Here's part of what my friend wrote to me. She said, "I was okay when the class sizes started getting bigger. I was okay when I didn't get any specialized help for all the SPED and ELL students. I was okay when I had to spend my own money on supplies. I was okay when we started getting PD'd to death. I was okay with constant teacher evaluation. I was even okay with listening to what Fox News had to say about teachers. But I'm not okay with putting my life on the line." This is someone who I have known, I think at this point, for over half her life. And for a great big chunk of my life. I've known her since I was in high school and she was in middle school. And we've been friends for a long time. I've watched her grow up and go to school, go to college, get married, have children. And I guess I don't say this to her very often. I don't know if I've ever really said this to her directly, but if she's watching, I hope she knows how proud I am of her and how happy I am for her, for the life that she's built, for the family that she's made, and I hope she knows how much I love her. And It's infuriating to me. It's absolutely infuriating that good people like my friend have to deal with this as just their new reality, their status quo, that our gun problem in the United States has gotten to such a point, and our indifference to it, and our utter lack of motivation to do anything about it, has allowed it to get to the point where apparently this is just what we have to do. Yeah, okay. Teachers will just have to do this. This will just be part of their job. Hey, as Jeb Bush said, sometimes stuff happens. What are we supposed to do about it? And, I mean, apparently the answer that we've decided on as a nation collectively of what are we supposed to do about it is nothing. We're not supposed to do anything about it. We're just supposed to adapt to it. We are supposed to adapt to it. Here's a little bit more of what she wrote to me in response to this incident with the gun at her school. She says, "I'm just questioning my career choice. With behavior troubles and mostly being a social worker, it's hard to remember what actually teaching feels like." Now, this friend of mine is one of the people that should be used as a role model for teachers. She is someone who is the best case scenario for a teacher, in my opinion. Maybe I'm a little biased because I've known her for a while, but she is dedicated and passionate and brilliant in her own right, and has wanted to be a teacher for so long. And I remember when she first got her job that she now has as a teacher, as a full-time teacher, how happy she was and how excited she was, and how happy we all as her friends were for her, that she had finally accomplished this thing that she'd worked so hard for and gone to so many years of school for, and spent so much time working as a substitute to finally earn her way into a full-time teaching position. And now this person, this amazing person and this amazing teacher, is saying to herself, I don't know if this is what I want to do with my life. And I don't see why that is acceptable. Because let's not pretend that my friend that I'm telling you about is the only teacher that is dealing with this. I actually happen to know quite a few teachers. I can't really think of any teacher that I know, public school teacher that I know, that I'm friends with, who doesn't have these thoughts, who doesn't think, I don't know if this is worth it anymore. And often they're not saying it because they feel like they're underpaid or they're overworked or they're underappreciated. That's something that teachers have always had to deal with, especially public school teachers. They're feeling that way because they see this obvious problem, not just with schools, but with our entire country, with our culture. This insane tolerance of our totally out of proportion problem with gun violence. And they say, I don't know if I want my job to be to herd kids into closets when we think there might be a gun on school property, because that's the best way we've come up with for dealing with this problem. And this is just one avenue that you can go down. There are so many places in our lives, in our country's shared life, that this gun problem touches. We often talk about gun violence. We talk about gun homicides. And those are a huge problem. We have more of those than any other Western democracy. We have a much higher rate of those than any other Western democracy. Those are a huge problem. Mass shootings are a huge problem. We have more of those than any other Western country. So far in 2015, we've had more than one a day. Think about that. Those are a huge problem, and we should be talking about those. But there are other facets of this problem beyond gun homicide and mass shootings in particular. There's gun-related suicides, which, again, are massively out of proportion in the United States compared to other Western democracies. Massively out of proportion. There's the total number and total rate, and I keep saying rate because there will always be someone who says, well, the reason we have so many gun deaths in the U.S. is because we just have so many people. No. No, if you compare rates, which are apples-to-apples comparisons. If you compare gun deaths per 100,000 people, which is a common and easy-to-find statistic between countries, we're so far out of proportion it's ridiculous. Our politicians often speak to us about American exceptionalism. We are not the only democracy in the world, although we often act like we are. However, we are the only democracy in the world with this big of a gun problem. We are exceptional in that respect. And we're exceptional in one other related respect, and that is that we choose to do nothing about it. We have by far the worst gun problem among all Western democracies, and we choose to do nothing about it. We choose to not even try to do something about it. Our preferred solution to tens of thousands of Americans dying from gun-related causes a year is to just manage it. To not make any real attempt on a national level to make it more difficult for people to own guns, or to try and reduce the number of guns that are in circulation, which is estimated anywhere from 270 to over 300 million. And it's an estimate because people don't have to register their guns, so we don't even know how many legally owned guns there are in the United States. We just don't know. Our solution is just to manage the problem, not to do anything about any of the causes of it. Our solution is to tell teachers who have to live with the realistic prospect that at any moment someone could walk into their school with a gun and attempt to murder them, their fellow teachers, and their students, is to tell them, well, just be on the lookout and try to get everybody out of the hallways and call the police. That's the best we can do for them. Think of the tens of thousands of people who die every year from gun-related causes. Think of all their families. Think of all their loved ones. Think of the millions of people in this country who have been affected directly or indirectly by gun violence, whose lives have been forever changed, in many cases ruined, in many cases ended. Think about all those people, and the best we can do for them, for ourselves, is to say, well, we're just going to have to manage the problem. There's nothing we can do about it. Sorry. That is unacceptable. And no one who cares about this country or cares about the people living in it should accept that. And the fact that many of us have accepted it, either willfully or just by default, is the most damning fact about this country that I am aware of. We are all accountable through either our actions or our apathy and our inactions. We are all accountable for this problem. We are all accountable in some way for the tens of thousands of people, for the 31,000 people on average every year who die as a result of gun-related causes in this country. We're all accountable in some measure for that. Because even though many of us as individuals are very passionate about this and care a great deal about this and would love to see something done to fix this, we as a nation do not care. We collectively, as the United States of America, don't care. And there is no excuse for that. And the only redemption for that is to fix the fucking problem. Or at least, at the very least, to try. And the fact that we're not willing to do that 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 doesn't make us exceptional in any way that we should want to be exceptional. That makes us weak and cowardly and unconscionably cruel. And those aren't usually things that we think of when we think about American exceptionalism. No great nation would allow this to continue.